This as I've had in a long time.
So, welcome to class number 7. And tonight we're going to talk about, the first thing we're going to talk about is the question that we ended up with last week that Reba asked, and then Pierre said he had that question too, and then Mary Lou said she also had that question. So Reba and I had quite a bit of discussion about that, for which I was very grateful, and it led me to understand why I'm doing this and why I do it and why it feeds my soul. So I want to go over why I've done almost 1,000 of these classes up till now. So for me, I'm doing it because each time I prepare for a class, it feeds my soul. But I want to be really clear that I'm not doing it to teach you anything. Because it just doesn't work that way. So let me be clear. Each week, some people come and some people don't come. And if I was teaching, and I tried this in the beginning a number of times, and I would start over. But that's just literally impossible. So what my goal is to bring the juice. I want to bring the passion. I want to bring the fire. And you can see how I connect to the material, and then if it interests you, you'll go out and find your own way to connect. And nobody's going to take all this at once, but if you can find a piece here and a piece there, then I'll be thrilled with that. Now, make no mistake about it, we're living on the leading edge. And the more you understand that, the more... I wonder what's going on. Let's try that. The more you understand that, the more you can appreciate yourself and this remarkable opportunity we placed ourselves in. So, as you take the material and then try and incorporate it into who you are, that's when you make it powerful. Because it's not about the words. It's about any little way that you can find to live, and therefore live the material and live the principles, that makes it powerful for both you and for me. So I do the best I can, and I really, really enjoy it. It really makes my heart sing. And what I found is that if we're not teaching, then why is it that we're coming here? And I find one of the most important reasons to come here is to get your batteries charged. Get something that'll lift you up a little. And so I was used to doing a talk on Saturdays and a talk on Wednesdays. And I found that if I did it twice a week, that would pretty much carry me through the whole week. I would be so high. And so if you come on Sunday and you come on Wednesday, you should be covered. You can consider that an official advertisement. So, getting back to the last question we had last week. You cannot be happy or sad if you're living in the moment, if you're living in the now or living in the present, which Reba found very upsetting. In fact, she told me if that's the case, I really don't think that much of it.
Yeah, it's not all the
cracked up to be.
Now it's not all that cracked up to be. So, but I want to be clear. I want to put this in a context because what I said was true, but the first point is this. We're here in this reality and we want to experience our emotions. That's why we're coming here. Our emotions are the foundation of our inner guidance system. Good feels good, bad feels bad. It's not complicated. But if we cut ourselves off from our emotions, then we're cutting ourselves off from one of the most important abilities we have to navigate this reality, and we're cutting ourselves off from our inner spirit, who's providing guidance to us through our emotions. Our inner spirit is providing guidance to us through our emotions. So our emotions are one of the greatest gifts that we have in this reality. Now that I've said that, the only way that you can make anything good or bad is by comparison. So Reba loves talking about beginner's mind, and at first I didn't quite get it, but now I really get it, because what is beginner's mind? It's coming with a clean slate, so to speak. You haven't experienced this before. So if you had beginner's mind, you would not have anything to compare, and you could easily live in the moment. But we have almost an infinite wealth of experience, and because of that, when we make decisions, we make almost instantaneous evaluations, and those come from our past experience. And as soon as that happens, as soon as we have that emotion, we're now not in the moment. We're not in the present. We're not in the point of power. And that's just fine. You want that. This is because you're in the process of giving a huge gift. So let's take some examples. Let's say that, and I picked some dramatic ones. Let's say that somebody's telling you have a lump in your breast, or that your mother is near the end, and if you want to be with her, you have to come into the hospital now. But of course, if you've had bad hospital experiences, bam, that may be all the trigger you need to get carried away into emotion. And that's by comparison. That's because you're either projecting into the future, something good is not going to happen, or you're drawing on your past experience. So that takes you out of your now. You're not living in your now. And that's why Eckhart Tolle and Seth are so clear that when you're living in the point of power, when you're living in the moment, it's impossible to be either happy or sad because you're just aware. You're being the observer. You're being the observer of what's around you. And you're not making any discriminations about it. You know, you're not saying this is good or bad, or I feel threatened, or anything like that. So one of the byproducts that's so powerful of living in the moment is you're aware and you're curious. You don't have a lot of emotion, you're just interested. And you're there. In other words, you're focused on the situation. So living in the moment, in the present, and the now is just about being aware. And by being aware without being emotional, that we then become the observer. And from that place of separation, we're now at our point of power because we can then decide which direction we want to go. And because our world is created by our thoughts first, we can then make a decision about what we want and then turn our focus, or said another way, turn our godhood in that direction. Why? Because we are living in the moment and we're living in the present. We're living in the now, as Eckhart would say. Because we have that space, because we're the observer. Now, I want to say again that despite the fact that we're not living in the point of power, the present moment, it is of the greatest importance that we let our emotions flow. and we experience them. They're the gift telling us where we are with our beliefs. And it is our beliefs and our focus which create this reality. So when we have emotions, it's guidance from our inner spirit giving us a clear message. Our beliefs are not taking us where we want to go. Our beliefs are not taking us where we want to go. That's what feeling bad is telling you. It's a clear message that when we feel bad, our beliefs are literally blocking us from where we want to go. And when we feel good, our thoughts are empowering and supporting us in what we want. So, how do we know what we want? Well, what you want is in your vortex or in your soul, vortex according to Gabe, and is added to and literally refined every second. And you know what you want by experience, and your good experiences go right into your vortex and get built on. And your bad experiences get reversed through contrast, and they still go into your vortex. Based on the simple principle that when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So as you're suffering, you're literally adding good things to your vortex. And that's how your inner spirit knows what emotions to send you, because it's sending you clear guidance about how you get to what you want based on where you are. And if you're feeling bad, it's telling you that what you want is being blocked by your beliefs. So, we have a gold standard in our vortex or in our soul. And it's trying every instant to take us to where we want to go. So if you're having an experience that's bad, you need to examine those beliefs, because it's telling you that. Those beliefs are not serving you. Now, our life is composed of stories based on our beliefs. In fact, every last thing in our reality, this reality is an illusion, a complete illusion, and every last thing in our reality is a story. The stories are a glue that hold this reality together for us. The only thing that really exists is energy, and energy has no meaning whatsoever, certainly no story, except the meaning and the story that we give the energy. And that story is the glue that holds what we call this reality together. So, let's go back to the hospital. You have a lump or your mother's about to die. So in the first case, in the moment or in the present or the now, we would just be aware of someone telling us we have a lump or your mother's ready to pass. It's neither good or bad, it's just a fact. And the fact is going, and if that fact is going to be good or bad, it's going to be because that's the meaning we're giving to it. It's not inherently good or bad. Now, there's another really important reason why it's impossible to be happy or sad in the moment. And the reason is simple. There's no time. And because there's no time, there's no comparison. The only way you can have comparison is if you have a past and you have a future. But it's all actually simultaneous right now. And what we would consider to be time is simply where we put our focus. So if we put our focus on something good from the past or the future, well then that's what we're bringing to, that's what we're creating in our Godhood, and that's what we're bringing to the present moment. And vice versa. So if we put our focus on something that wasn't pleasant, well then that's what we're creating in our now moment. And further, every instant is a clean slate. So this beginner's mind that Reba talks about is actually the way reality is. Every instant, reality is created completely new from the 0 point. So anything that's there is because we're putting it there. And because we're putting it there, it's now our creation. So, if you're upset, please let your emotions flow and be aware. They're a huge gift. And that gift is taking you to exactly where you need to go. And it's simple. We have these stories that things are hidden. But if in the moment you're feeling your emotion, when you were to ask yourself, what belief would I have to have in order to feel this way? It'll hit you right between the eyes, written on a 2x4. I mean, it's powerful. Nothing is hidden. Why do I feel this way? Ask yourself, what belief would I have to have in order to feel this way? And once you have that belief in your hand, you know where your work is. Your work is to find a more empowering belief. And then after you find that belief, and you can experiment, but once you find that belief, focus on that belief. And once you turn your focus to that belief, that's now the reality that you're creating. And one of the things I find extremely helpful is to create symbols. And I love to create symbols because they really help me turn my focus. So it might be easy to get tied up in the minutiae of what's going on. But if I'm really clear that, for instance, I want a joyful outcome or a joyful experience with another person, then I create that symbol inside myself. And if for some reason, while I'm driving there, I start to wobble, I turn my focus there. I put my energy there. I flow my energy to that good symbol. And that's literally what you'll find yourself creating. And it's actually quite remarkable. The next part of this is value fulfillment. So this is always a big struggle because there's not time, there's value fulfillment. So what exactly is going on here with this value fulfillment stuff? And the best way I know to explain it is this. Every instant you're expanding, even if you didn't do anything, even if you didn't have any experience, the energy is increasing. The energy constantly increases. And the energy is increasing even more now during this transition. And as it does, your vibration gets faster and faster. And as your vibration gets faster, the world opens up like a flower. And you see more and more and more. So, for instance, in one case, somebody might be telling you that your mother's about to pass. And for a person that is unawakened or unaware, this can seem like a tragedy. I'm going to be separated from my mother. But for a person that understands that there's almost no veils now, and you can certainly connect with your mother on the other side. It's not really difficult at all. If you don't put her in the straitjacket of who she was, because remember, now she's going to be pure positive energy, and she's always going to be with you, and she'd love to work with you. If there are things that you want to confess or talk to her about, or if you would like to be forgiven, she's there, 100%. And you can have really wonderful experiences. So, as you go through your life and your vibration increases, and what is it increasing about? It's your ability to love. That's what raises your vibration. It's your ability to love. So as you love more, you'll find that you're hurdling these boundaries that we had in our old reality, our official line of consciousness. Just like Romeo jumped over the wall and proclaimed his love to Juliet. Because love will just carry you right over that wall, and love will carry you past the separation of the veil that we call physical and non-physical. And when my wife passed and I laid down next to her in the hospital bed, I was crying, and she came to me as like Tinkerbell's the best way I know to describe it. And she's been dropping fairy dust on me ever since. She took me right to Reba, and she really, I could see in retrospect, she was really getting me prepared for Reba, because she was teaching me how to do stuff around the house. We had a pretty clean separation in that, I was working hard as a maintenance manager, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, most weeks. And so she wanted a big house, which we had, but she took care of it. She was the maintenance manager of that house, so I didn't lift a finger. And then after I retired for a little while, I said to her, I don't know what I was thinking. Honey, I would like retirement to be as good for you as it is for me. At which point she literally gave me everything to do around the house. I mean everything. Cooking, laundry, bills. She didn't hold back. And I'm
You got what you asked for.
I'm going, oh my God, I hope this is really good for you, because it's quite a bit of work for me now. But I understand now that when I went into my relationship with Reba, I wasn't going to get away with, propping my feet up and going, what football game is on today? That's not, I'm going to have to do the shopping, I'm going to have to do the laundry, I'm going to have to get in here and do the cleaning, clean the bathroom. You divide the chores up, but you figure it out. But the point is, you do your part. And she was really on me about that.
Well, that's New Earth.
Yeah, that's the New Earth.
Equality.
And she was constantly giving me guidance. And she did a lot of wonderful things, a lot of really wonderful things that supported our relationship too. So my point is, it's a matter of what your perspective is. And you can have a good perspective. Now, if you let yourself get carried away in good emotion, that's about the same position you'd be if it were negative emotion or uncomfortable. But there's an amazingly fine line there. You can maintain your sense of being the observer while you still feel good. And you'll notice a dramatic difference in the way you flow energy. And the last thing I want to end with on this particular subject is this. There are two routes to anywhere. Now, one of the things that we're really good at in this society is fixing ourselves. We really don't embrace our perfection. And we are literally perfect every instant. And every instant is the perfect launching pad for the rest of our lives. And because we're eternal, we never get it done, and therefore we can't get it wrong. Whatever we did in the last moment was just an educational experience, a growth in awareness. But there's another approach to other than fixing ourselves, and it's following your passion. It's following your excitement. It's following your joy. It's following your bliss. Now, it's kind of ironic because you're going to encounter the same things on your path with either approach. It doesn't matter if you're fixing yourself or if you're following your passion. But if you're following because wherever you go, there you are. So whatever's inside of you, it's going to be showing up in your life and reflected back to you on either path. But what you're going to find is, if it's ringing your bell, it's going to be a lot easier. And it gets easier all the time. And it's for a purpose. It's not to get by until tomorrow and hope tomorrow is going to be a better day. No, I'm doing something like, for instance, I'm sitting here living my passion. I'm sitting here, so whatever's gone on during the day, maybe I had a problem with getting the trash out on time, or I didn't do this, but who cares? Who cares? I mean, I'm going to work that out with Reba. We're both very loving to each other, very patient and very accepting, and it's wonderful. But I could feel bad about it, but no, I'm gonna I've got something I'm going to do, something that makes my heart sing. And when I do what makes my heart sing, then the other things fall into place. Like, that wasn't a big deal. The trash is coming next week too. It might be a little high in the trash can, but we're going to get it handled. Now, so I'm going to get back to our list so we can evaluate where we're at in this process of this transition to fourth density. But I felt, after speaking to Reva on 3 or 4 days, and we went pretty deep, it was really wonderful. Esther said the way that she channeled Abraham was because Jerry had all these questions. Well, I've got my Jerry. And truthfully, I absolutely love it. I thrive on it because every time she asks a question, I have to go deeper. I have to think. I mean, the questions she asked, like last week, how come I can't be sad or happy in the moment? Really make me think about those things. So, this is the good news and the bad news. The good news is that we're on our way to fourth density, and it is a spectacular place. The bad news is all the craziness that we've been experiencing for the last 5 years, it's going to get worse over the next 7 to 8 years. I didn't say 7 to 8 days, 7 to 8 months. We got years ahead of us. And the reason is simple. We, and especially in the United States, we believe in our system. And our system is totally built around the official line of consciousness and comparing and getting ahead and trying to find joy from the things we have, which can't bring you any joy at all. So we've got a lot of dismantling to do. And if you want to know about that, come to church on Sunday. I've got some really great stuff to talk about. And plus, I guarantee it'll make you high, so.
Oh, yeah?
So, how are we going to navigate that? Because nobody's coming to save us. We've all heard about aliens, and they might be part of our culture and part of our lives. But in the short term, nobody's coming here knocking on the door saying, we're going to save you. And there's a really good reason for that. We need to step up and save ourselves. It needs to be us. So before I get to the list, I want to go over some techniques, 3 techniques in particular, that can really help you navigate these times, this craziness that we see around us. And the first one is this. And I've learned this from a number of people that I found quite inspirational. And I noticed the theme. And the theme was simple. They had personal relationships with all that is. And being the quick study I am, I only had to hear that for like 10 years and 100 times before I went, wow, they might have something there. And so one of the things that triggered this was they kept talking about the Father. Well, I sort of went the other way and I talk about Mother God or Mother Earth or not the Father, because I want a different paradigm. I'm sick and tired of the old white guy with the beard that sends retribution down from heaven. That, to me, that's an old, outdated model. And one of them even calls all that is Dad. And she talked about how good she felt sitting on Dad's lap and talking to Dad, and Dad was talking to her. And I noticed that when I created my personal relationship with all that is, it was Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary. And these ladies would talk about how much they enjoyed being rocked in the arms, and so I said, well, I'm going to go for that too. Why not? I mean, it's only in a minute. But it feels wonderful to feel yourself wrapped in the arms of all that is in a very caring way. Now, I just want to add one teeny tiny little thing. Just be clear that you're creating all that is. You're creating the mother, you're creating the father, you are the creator. But that doesn't take anything away from the power of that relationship, of how good it feels, of how connected you are. And one of the things I noticed is that you can maintain that connection as you go through your day. I guess somebody on the other side agrees with us, right? You can make your connection as you go through your day and, talk. And so when Reba went on this remarkable journey up to Indianapolis to help her sister, first of all, she said, I'm going to live every day like it's the new earth. And she decided that she was going to take every question to her inner spirit. And all that happened was one miracle after another. I mean, these weren't little miracles. I mean, these were friggin' huge. And so at the end of 3 weeks, which I thought was an impossible deadline, she got in the car and drove home and had everything set. Her sister's daughter had been buried, and they had a funeral, and the children had been adopted. She was in a wonderful, wonderful nursing home. The list is amazing. So the more that you can make that connection and hold that connection, the more you can open yourself up to the all that isness that you are. In other words, the miracles that are your routine way of life. Now, the next technique is this. Don't listen to anybody else. Nobody. Nobody, nobody, nobody. Nobody. Listen, when it gets crazy here, you're going to need to know what to do. And if you're looking at somebody else, they got their own agenda. You need to know from you. You need to know from what's inside of you. You're the boss. So start asking yourself what you want to do, where you want to go. What do I want? That's the most powerful question in the universe. What do I want? So when you know what you want, then you know where to turn your focus. And that way, when everybody else around you is discombobulated and unsure of themselves, it is literally breathtaking. You will get the eyes and have the vision to see all these multi-dimensional realities swing into alignment, and you will see a clear path for you when you know and you've asked, what do I want? And there it opens up before you, and you can step in that direction. That makes you a leader. That makes you a person of light that other people can follow and trust. Why? Because you're not telling them what to do. You're not telling them how to live their life. You are a living, breathing, walking example of connection to spirit, which is where we're all going anyway, but you're modeling it for them. And when they start doing that for themselves, you can give a person a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. You can tell people what to do, or you can tell them how to connect to their inner spirit. And believe me, in difficult times, if you demonstrate a clarity of purpose, that's a huge gift to other people around you who are feeling insecure and concerned. And then the last thing is, this is a practice. And it's to get you in touch with how all that is that you are. And it's this. At least once a day, see your body creating the world. That's what's happening. Your body is creating the world. The energy flows through you as all that is, and flows out through your senses, and is projected onto the walls of your bubble. You are literally creating this wonderful, breathtaking, awesome world that we're in, and you're doing it every second, and you're doing it like you're breathing in and out. You're not even aware of it, but you're doing it. So connect with your awesomeness, connect with your all that isness, and the fact that you're creating these walls and these people and these words that are being spoken. I'm following your script. You are remarkable creators, because this is pretty good stuff, huh? I mean,
I'm so glad I created it.
yeah. All right. So, that said, let's get back to our transition to fourth density. Now, I realized the genius that Reba had when she kept grabbing me and asking me this question. I mean, not in a bad way, but, you know, in a way that made me go deeper and deeper and deeper, not just once, but for hours and days, because I realized that I was going through a list here, and it was just words, and I needed to get to a deep place, and by getting to a much deeper place, the things on this list are going to mean a great deal more. So, the next item on the list is the world of judgment and duality. Right, wrong, good, bad, us, them. Now you can see that the discussion we just had completely enlightens this subject, because there is no right, wrong, good, bad, us, them, unless we make it that way. And be clear that it's not inherently that way. You must make it that way in order for it to be that way. Now, in fourth density, we have an awareness that everything is energy and has no meaning except that the meaning that we give it. And in fifth density, there's no more judgment. It does not exist. Everything is perfect in the moment, and you are very connected and very centered in that point of power. Now, we can understand in third density this world of judgment, because if you're allowing yourself to be totally immersed in this world, and it's self-referential, wow, this place is going to be a real roller coaster. You are going to get banged from pillar to post. Every day in the newspaper, on television, in the media, in magazines, maybe even billboards. You're just literally going to get banged around. So, during this time of transition, now after the transition you can go back to all this. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek because there won't be any of it. But you can go to, so during this time of transition, try and create a safe zone for yourself so that you're not upset about somebody said this and somebody said that and they're going to do this. And look, people say, my brother lovingly says to me, you really need to know this stuff, because I'm getting drowned by the flushing of the toilet, you know. We're going right down the toilet, and I'm going, look, this is the deal. Our lives are pretty fantastic. They really are. We're creating the sun coming up, and we never miss on that, do we? The moon, I mean, our ability to create is literally spectacular. And if you look at how full your refrigerator is, and you have a way to get around, and you have a roof over your head that doesn't leak that much, you're doing great. You're really doing great. So if you take a look at the world that you've created and you enjoy that, well, that's your starting point. And then if somebody comes up and knocks on your door and says, you have to evacuate because of the hurricane, okay. But don't spend every minute for 2 weeks following, it just made a little left here and then it's going up there and just went from 2 to 1. Oh, that's good news, but oh my God, it went this way. And you can just eat yourself up when you have in your hands a wonderful life. Live the wonderful life that you've created. And then, if circumstances knock on your door, then you're in a calm and peaceful place to handle that. But if you are constantly feeding yourself this stuff that makes you anxious and fearful, you dramatically inhibit the ability of your body to do the naturally wonderful things it does, taking care of and maintaining its own perfection. Yes?
Yeah, I want to say, I had that, I lived that out during the hurricane, and before it, because, if you watch television or listen to the news, or any official stuff, it was all, everything that made you, it was all scare-based, fear-based, everything's going to be terrible, the whole 9 yards. And the more you listen to it, then the more you got sucked into it. So I found out that it was much more peaceful not to listen to it at all, and then it was easier even yet when the power went out, so then I couldn't listen to it anyhow. But what I did was what we talked about, what you talked about earlier. I've been more and more talking to God directly, and I asked God about it. He says, well, no problem, you'll be fine, stay where you are, you're protected, stay there. And then 2 hours later I'd go, are you sure? So I'd ask a lot, but I always got the same answers, stay there, don't evacuate, you'll be fine. And everybody else is like, evacuate, do this, do that. All the officials, the police went by and the speakers told you to evacuate, all the whole 9 yards. But I always asked God, and I was like, no, you'll be fine, stay there. And, all this stuff we're doing is to learn to listen to our inner guidance. So I said, well, either I'm going to listen to my inner guidance or I'm not. And so I did, and everything was fine. But if you listen to any of the official outside stuff, it was all fear-based and this and that and the other thing. So it was exactly what you just, what you were just saying.
And that's one of the things that's gone on in our reality, and that is that's the way they get our attention. With advertising, with newspapers. What's the famous newspaper saying? If it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
And I finally told my mom, listen, Mom, I don't have that many knifings in my neighborhood. So I literally told her that, because she would tell me every time that something grim like that was going on anywhere within 10 miles of her. She lives in Largo, so that's a pretty big area. And then, of course, because she cares about me so much and she loves me like I feel about her, she would warn me about what she saw on the news. And until I got her to start turning the television off when I called, I could clearly hear the news in the background. God love her. One of my favorite people on earth. And I'm so incredibly blessed because Reva totally supports me in my raging love affair with her.
If we're speaking, I've got something real quick.
Yeah, please.
So
can we
about,
give you the
No, I'm loud enough. About being in the moment. So I was very young, you know, the story, everybody knows the story. I went and lived with the guru when I was 19. Now everybody there at this ashram, celibate, drinking green juice, very natural thing, like didn't have emotion. They weren't happy and they weren't sad. And I thought, why aren't these people happy? And I'm making jokes, and why aren't they happy? And why aren't they sad? And why, you know, and it was because they were all in the moment. And they were all in the moment every day. And the only thing that might have made them a little happy is if their juice tasted better that day. and then I realized that that's what it was. It wasn't that they didn't love me or didn't care or didn't think I was funny. It was that they were in the moment. And you know, it's so true. And then not worrying was all part of that. Yeah, that's what my guru said, don't worry, be happy. He said it before they wrote the song.
So did you embrace that lifestyle, or did
Yes.
you like the be happy, feel your emotions? Which did you choose?
Well, my guru was following another guru that died, and that was his motto, don't worry, be happy.
Oh, wow, I
And
love
So
that.
that's emotion.
And
That
yeah,
makes no sense.
and that was, but yeah, we were happy, but, and with very little, the emotions came out when you were meditating and your chakras would open and you would cry. You'd have these random emotions that were cleansing, and it was a whole different thing. But it was definitely, your daily practice was, they were all in the moment with very straight, calm, not variance in their emotions.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
You know, one of the things I think about, and Miles and I, we discussed this quite a bit this week, is didn't we come here to experience contrast and to feel our emotions? I understand in those other dimensions.
But you're
we're just-
coming from your brain and not your heart, and you have to clear it out, and your emotions need to come from your heart and your chakras, not from your brain.
So-
And that's the problem.
Yeah, so you're saying when your emotions came from your heart, they were different.
They were
but they're still
uncontrolled.
emotions.
Yeah,
They were
Because
uncontrolled.
your ego was involved.
Right,
Is that
no
what you're
ego,
saying?
right.
that's the mind.
But if you're like this all the time, I mean, I like to laugh.
Oh,
You know, I like
laughing's
a
good
little
thing.
bit of a
Absolutely.
wave. I don't want to be like, ugh.
Laughing is really good to open up everything.
We don't want the flat
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, no flat, like,
It was just an observation that when you're enlightened, you really don't have those extremes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
sure.
People are going to think I paid you to say that. That was quite beautiful. Yes, Paul?
I don't know, do we want to explore this topic further, or should we move on?
What time is it? I would like to take a 5-minute break,
Okay.
if we could, and then come back at 8 o'clock sharp. I've turned off my alarm tonight in honor of you. Yeah, call Mom. And so we'll come back at 8 sharp, and then we'll continue with the discussion, Paul. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, if I could have your attention, please.
Yes.
Great, we're gonna eat in the carpet.
Oh, an angel brought Dr. Light some water. Isn't that beautiful?
Carpet.
Yes, here.
I have a question.
Can the angel put it in the other room?
Yes. Can you give me 1 second? Because
Sure.
I promised Paul, and then we'll come to you,
Oh,
okay?
okay.
So, Paul?
Just two observations. When you started that discussion,
Yes, thanks for asking, dear.
when you started that discussion, I kind of held on to your position, and I actually wanted to ask you if his answer satisfied your question. Apparently not.
Wait, say that again, Paul?
I wanted to ask if his answer had satisfied her concern or her question.
Okay.
And she just gave me a face that led me to believe the answer was no. Because one of the things that I've been, believing and experiencing, and I'm going to counter this in just a moment. One of the things I've been believing and experiencing is that we have to experience the emotions, either to get through the negative ones, to embrace them and get past, find the false belief and blah, 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 or when I'm in the moment, when I'm doing my meditation or whatnot, and I'm bringing forth happiness and joy, I'm purposely bringing forth happiness, joy, peace, gratitude, love, right? You can't, I guess you could, but why would you want to bring forth anger? But then, so I'm thinking the whole thing that you need to be experiencing emotions, okay? But then I realized that I'm experiencing the opposite too. And that brings me right back to traffic. All right? My whole, everything for me begins with traffic. Every learning step begins with traffic. So, the thing that I'm dealing with traffic right now, and the Spirit's really making it clear to me, is to just be the observer. Have no emotional reaction when somebody cuts me off, when there's somebody right in front of me doing 20 miles an hour and with 6 miles of empty space in front of them. To have no emotional response, to just be the observer. And every time, I have to do it consciously, because I'm not to the point where I do it subconsciously or automatically, but doing it consciously, every time I do that, this situation changes instantly. Instantly. The minute I'll feel this emotion of anger or annoyance or frustration or how stupid are they or whatever, begin to come up. It's like, no emotion, just observe it. And the second my mind will do that, they move out of my way.
That's why they came up, but that's why they came up, that's why they came up with sign language, right?
Pierre?
Well, I have a question. I'm a little confused because if I can't be happy in the moment, then it makes me unhappy in the moment. But if I can't be unhappy in the moment, I'm back to confused. When can I be happy?
Sure.
Right after the moment.
But there's only the now moment.
In a moment.
In a moment.
So,
Tomorrow.
We're going to cover that tomorrow.
I think somebody said it just a few minutes ago that, and in the break I was talking about how what I'm talking about is a paradox. And paradoxes are the greatest gift we can get because the only way we can balance two things that are seemingly diametrically opposed is if we can expand ourselves enough to put our arms around both of them. So, in one sense, I'm saying you want to experience your emotions because they're the gift, and in the other hand, I'm saying when you get carried away in your emotions, you've given up your point of power. So, it's a balancing act. It's a tightrope that we're actually walking. And as you pay attention to your thoughts and your feelings, you can learn to navigate it. Now, so when I'm walking that tightrope, I always want to be on the side of sort of a quiet optimism, joy, appreciation. But it's not a jumping up and down. And I feel comfortable experiencing that in an ongoing basis in a heart-centered way. And that's the key, is it coming from the heart. And it's quite all right to cry and feel a lot of, a crying emotion. That's a wonderful and powerful emotion. It's not something that puts you in your point of power, but it is something that connects to your inner spirit deeply. And the energy of it alone will almost always, as Paul says, carry you to another place. As he gives up the energy of being upset, he gets carried to a better feeling place. But he's also said that as he follows his emotions, and Seth is really clear about this, when you follow your emotions will take you to cleansing, and to clarity and insights. It doesn't work that way for me, but I believe it. I know a lot of people that do it. I guess I just have a big capacity to spiral in a negative direction. So I'll write it down and say, this is what I was feeling, and I'm going to come back to this and see if I can find the belief. I'm going to ask myself that really difficult question, what belief would I have to feel this way? And then I can do my work. Does that help, Pierre?
Reba?
Well, do you know when to be happy? That's what you asked. Do you know?
I'm still confused. I mean, I believe that you could be happy in the moment. I don't know, maybe that's just so simple.
You know what?
I'm happy now.
Content, yeah.
I'm happy now. Is that the future? Is that the moment? Is that the past?
now.
Is it?
Did you just draw a distinction between happy and joy and exuberance?
Well, I'm not going into that, no. I just,
We're talking about being in the moment, that you have to be the observer, and to be the observer, you're neutral.
You know,
I mean, that's where
I
we
don't,
came from.
let me give you an example. Somebody, unless I get thrown off, somebody can really be upset with me. They can be angry. They can be hollering at me and spit can be coming out of their mouth. Or they can be crying, conversely. And in either case, most of the time, I am overwhelmed with a feeling of their magnificence. It's like it comes from my heart. I see the light in them, and I connect with that, and it's impossible for me to cry with them because all I see is their magnificence. And when they're angry, I feel like it's just something that's going to wash by. They're expressing their anger, and yes.
I think something just came to me. Being the observer, yes, you're neutral, but that's external. The joy is internal, and I think that's what we're saying.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's an internal feeling. It's not that you are.
It's not the emotion.
Yes, it's not the emotion externally.
I
That's
agree.
where you're being the observer. The observer is you appear to somebody else, like you're in neutral on the outside, but inside is where, because the world is inside,
Yes.
right? And that's where the
Yeah.
joy is.
That's
I think
right.
that's
That's
where
I
it
agree.
is.
That's
Is that what we're
brilliant.
saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I totally agree with that,
But
at least in this moment.
But I saw it, this is the way I saw it, in that neutral moment, in that moment that you're in that moment, that's when you choose your new reality.
Yes,
That's when you choose your new reality. So you still really are the observer, and you have to be neutral to choose that new reality because you're creating something brand new in that moment.
well, the expression I used to use is emotions are like a powerful animal, and I used to compare them to horses. So I would say if the horse is running in your direction, just enjoy it. So
Step aside.
when you feel good, it's telling you that you're in the right place. That when you feel, because it's your inner spirit saying you've got the right set of beliefs and they're empowering and you're moving in the right direction. And I always feel like, well, I've done the work, I might as well get the enjoyment. And I do. It's not something that I'm going to necessarily jump up and down about, but I am going to feel, I'm entitled to feel the benefits of the work that I've done, getting myself into a position where I have beliefs that support me in having a wonderful life.
And then it's time to horse around.
Again, then it's time to horse around, yeah.
I think what it means to be neutral is not to be attached to the emotions.
That's
Like if
Yeah.
somebody's like arguing with you, if you stay neutral, then you can kind of back off and not engage in it.
Yeah.
There could be like a nice bubble boundary, and you'll feel the contentment and the love of God. And so by
Yeah,
staying
it's like-
neutral, I just think that that's the
Like
way
you have
to
a
go,
happy aura.
Instead of engaging.
Have a happy aura, right.
Instead of engaging into any negativity,
Yeah.
or if somebody, of course, if somebody's, upset and crying to me, of course you gotta get in there, because you want to have sympathy, but
Well,
then
yeah,
again, there's the,
but that's
it's like a separate thing, but yet is loving all in
Yes.
one.
It's a lot
Yeah.
though, because in that moment that you're neutral, you're also, that's the moment you're choosing and creating reality.
You can love
I
the
mean, there's a
most.
lot going on in that moment.
you can
Right.
love the
In the now.
most.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
So-
in that argument, like say if somebody's arguing with you but you choose not to, so on some level you're loving them as well as yourself.
Yeah. So I had a young lady standing in front of me crying. And all I could see was how beautiful she was, and I couldn't stop smiling. And I realized after a second, ooh, this is not very congruent. I mean, maybe I'm not going to get upset, but I don't want to smile when, you know. And she went on to be incredibly, wildly successful, and became very wealthy. And she was going through that transition of, you know, trying to make her business go. And it was really challenging, and she was feeling the stress, and she was unhappy about it, you know, feeling that tremendous pressure that she was putting on herself. And so I've at least learned not to smile when they're upset. But yeah, that's a good example.
You know, in Genesis, I just want to say, you know, when Adam was naming all the animals, those really were an allegory of emotions.
Yeah.
I've
Wow.
spoken on that before, yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
You know, the thing that, I totally agree with all being the observer when you're in a negative space or someone's upset, and I've done that a lot and had great results, so but I'm thinking what you said about being the observer is more like the outward part, because don't we talk about being in bliss all the time?
Right.
And being happy?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, that's inside, and then you were with those people who were very present, but they weren't in touch with emotion. I'm just trying to figure out, like, I agree with all the, be peaceful and be fully present when you're having a challenge, and that, but how do we live in bliss and joy and be present? That's what that is the piece I'm trying to deal with.
I would love to read to you sometime a letter that my guru wrote.
Okay.
And it would be her words.
How about the next
some other
class?
time. Or even make copies.
Can you say in a few sentences the essence of
Yeah,
it all?
she's always doing
Not
that
at
to me.
all.
Can you give me the
No.
short version? Oh, I totally honor you for that. I totally honor you for that. Yeah, come prepared for the next class, please. That would be
I
wonderful.
found something she wrote and I brought it back to the ashram, not knowing, and Matt went with me, not knowing it was the anniversary of the date she wrote it 40 years before.
Oh,
Oh my
And I
God.
didn't
Wow.
realize that until I got there and presented it. And it was during the hurricane last year. And it was about not stressing out and not worrying about things like a hurricane and being in the moment. And it was a whole thing, so I'm gonna bring you that one.
Well, I
Yeah.
totally agree with
Yeah.
with not stressing out, but I'm trying to figure out the happy part.
Yeah.
That's the only piece. I don't have
This
any
thing
argument
behind
with
him is
anyone.
just driving me
I say
nuts.
something.
So you filming?
You wanna-
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we,
That's something.
Yes. Oh, yes, Matt.
So like, would it be, like, if you say living in the moment, then wouldn't our life be just a sequence of those nows?
Yes.
So maybe it's like, instead of having emotion, not having emotion, it's about when you're in the now moment, not having emotion that influences the next now moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have emotion in your now moments, if not, you're catatonic or you're drunk. Like, you're supposed to have emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
Happy, sad, whatever it is, in the moment, and then the next thing is your next moment.
Right.
Everything is another moment. But like, you shouldn't have a thought in one moment like, oh, it's raining outside, so I'm going to get in a car accident on the way home. This is horrible, I'm sad. Because then that's influencing the next now moment negatively. So
Yes.
being,
Exactly.
enjoy the now moment and don't try to influence the future.
Well,
Yeah.
And don't try to influence the future with emotion. Like, you can do it with facts or things of that nature, but if you're saying like live in the now, everything's a now. Just when I rose my hand was the last now, and now is the next now.
That's,
Right,
you're
exactly.
absolutely right.
Precisely.
yeah.
Well, I think that having bliss is a constant practice. It's not like one day, it's like, oh, I got bliss, and so you stay that way
Right.
forever. Oh, I got it all.
It's kind of underlying, bliss is
It's
more an
just a-
underlying
It's
foundation.
under down.
Yeah.
If you got like contentment and feel love and peace,
You know, I remember-
eventually it's constant
Bliss
work.
can be
you
the
know what I mean?
observer though, because bliss is just a state of being really,
Contentment.
yeah, neutral almost, because, you know,
Yeah.
what is divinity?
our natural
Divinity
state.
is, yeah, it's that natural state of not, you know, like the farmer you told the story, which I've read before, you know, if the son gets hurt, is it good? Is it bad? Who knows?
Right, yeah.
Right.
You know, it's that knowing that all is well. It doesn't have to be joy or happiness, but knowing all is well. Maybe it's more of that.
Yeah, and then,
No matter what is coming, all is well.
yeah, and then whenever you got challenges in front of you, to like reinforce, to like, you know, you can either just to reinforce that bliss that keeps.
So whether it's good or bad, all is well.
Yeah,
Another possibility is that for God, bliss is being neutral.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
you're-
I'm saying.
I think it
So
might
that's
be
for
words.
God-
I think
for
we might
God,
be
bliss
using the
is
right
neutral.
words.
I think it is. I think
I
that's
think that's
exactly
what
what
it
I
is.
see.
That's
With
right.
God, there is no good or bad. It's all just, it's isms.
Just is.
Like
Is,
Reba
I was
said.
gonna say is,
Ism.
it's the moment.
Yeah, it's the moment. And it's perfect. Whether it looks, however it looks, it's perfect.
Miles, did you have anything to say today?
Well, this is a dream come true. You want people to be engaged, and and it's even better when they laugh. So
Well, Miles,
takes the pressure off.
I
Yes.
want to say something that Kath was saying before, and I don't know if it comes like to what we're saying in general. Because Kath's feeling was, he spoke to God, and in the storm, he was told not to move. I had the opposite experience. I tried not to let the TV influence me because I realized one day they were saying it was going this way, one day it was coming straight for Tampa. But I literally went into a meditation and I got, and again, I could be wrong, I don't think it was coming from here, but I got, get out of the house. You're not safe there.
What happened to your house?
Well, that's not the point. The point is I followed the guidance. And so when the thing turned last moment, I said, there it was. I was told to leave my house. Now, knock wood, nothing really happened to my house, but I went to a hotel. I left and I went to a hotel and I felt safer there. So the point is, whether you stayed or whether you left, whatever was going to happen anyway. And isn't that what we're saying? So it's neutral. It's not a matter of what action you're taking, right? I mean, is it similar, or am I off on a different tangent here?
No matter what's going on, I feel like I ask myself all this time when I see, like, be the observer, I say, isn't that interesting? I can't wait to see what's going to come out of this.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not judging it. I'm not saying, oh, that's so terrible. I'm just interested in watching it unfold because, like Mary Lou said, it's like you're just okay with what is because it is, and no matter what it is, just enjoy it, you know?
You know what, we're
Instead
still
of
talking
getting
about
all crazy.
duality when we're saying happy or sad, or so we're still talking about a dimension that's lower than divinity. So that dimension that's divinity's got to be higher than that, which is that neutral zone where all is well, no
No
good,
matter
no
what.
bad, no, you know, it's just that neutral zone of knowing, that it's a knowingness.
Yeah, that's very well
Yeah.
put.
It's
yeah.
non-judgment too.
Yeah,
Right.
just the
Yeah.
knowingness, right.
So we only have a few minutes left, and what I'd like to do is I'm going to cut to the chase here, because when we get to 5D, there's going to be a lot of bonuses for us. So, and that's going to happen pretty quick, because we'll go to 4th density, and then we're going to go straight on through to 5th density, where all the other realities exist simultaneously. And they're accessible there. So, in 5th density, love is a powerful force. It's not just an emotion. And you have a sense of it, and you have a sense of how to use it, and how to use it to create reality. We have no need for approval, or love, or connection. But here's the irony. You'll have them all. We'll have no expectation of others. We'll meet our own needs with self-love. The paradox, it is all there even though you don't need it, approval, love, and connection. The monkey mind is gone. There'll be an absence of fear, doubt, hurt, shame, anger, and depression. There'll be a lack of suffering and loneliness. How we experience the world, our senses are enhanced And the world is more beautiful, more colorful, with new colors and more alive. With our ears, we hear the music of the spheres or of the eternal Om. Access to the universal mind and our psychic abilities are natural. There is no need to speak because we're telepathic, which is also why we don't need to be protected, because nobody's going to be able to hide anything. You're not going to be able to carry guns into a hotel room. Everybody's going to know what you're doing. And because of that, there will be no secrets. And because of that, there'll be no illness. We'll be totally transparent with nothing to hide. Our focus is on co-creating and flowing our passion. We have a sense of wonder, excitement, and optimism. And that's sort of like the atmosphere that we'll find ourselves in fifth density. We'll enjoy exploring new worlds both from within and beyond form. So we'll learn how to use our psychic abilities outside of a world of form and structure like this to explore other dimensions and other realities, because we'll find that love is actually a dimension. We'll learn to time travel and visit other galactic civilizations in our body. Serving others will be natural. There'll be total joy, freedom, and a sense of fulfillment, and there will be no waiting for something better to happen. So, this transition that we're going to go through has a reason, and the reason is this. The only way we're going to get to that is if we call into question everything that's in our reality. And I'm going to speak about that on Sunday, about the impact of calling all that into question and what it's going to mean, because after Sunday you'll realize that literally nothing is going to be the same or even remotely close to it. It's going to be a completely different world that we find ourselves in. So with that, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Just a question. What happens in the fifth dimension with the concept of time?
Well, even in the fourth dimension, we'll be aware that time is a construct. And in the fifth dimension, we'll live in the perfection of the moment. There'll only be the moment that we're living in, and we'll understand.
Can we be happy in that moment?
Hey,
With that, we'll let you off.
I would say yes. I would say
We'll stop on that one.
Definitely yes. Yeah.